back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. It has been a whirlwind of a journey here this week as Luke Jones and I head off to Arlington, Texas to continue to broadcast, do our thing, try to keep hope alive with the Orioles season. Lots and lots of things happening this week. It's usually like my favorite week of the year, not just because it's pumpkin spice season and because the apple cider donuts are out and the leaves are changing and all. That's my birthday this Saturday. I'm still celebrating 55 and staying alive. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. We're going to begin the celebration on Friday at Drug City at the Fountain, upstairs at the tasting room. Hoping that we're going to have this problem of a Game 5 at Camden Yards, all brought to you by our friends at Window Nation, as well as Jiffy Lube and Multicare. And Sunday, we're going to be at the Hollywood Casino in the morning. And I know one thing. The Ravens are going to be playing on Sunday in London. We have a $30 all-you-can-eat brunch special. Also gets you involved in a bunch of the games up there. There's a wing-eating competition. You come win some money, watch TV, watch sports the way you really want to see it. I mean, giant TVs, all HD, beautiful, good salmon BLT. We're giving some dough away, as well as giving away copies of Purple Rain, too. So that's Sunday morning at Hollywood Casino in Perryville. Whew. Man, this guy and I, we did not go to game 1 together. We didn't go to game 2 together. I think if there's a game 5, I don't even know where he was over the weekend. He might have been fishing for all I know. He's been trying to keep his blood pressure down over there, Coons Baltimore Ford. He's selling cars. Things are okay. We got to hold the economy together and hold interest rates and 0% and all that. Tell me how worked up you got this weekend, Dennis. I mean, you told me you were going to be low key and low blood pressure about all this. I went to Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks on Saturday night. Leonard Raskin called me last minute. I avoided the traffic. I got a nice walk in. I told Leonard it was by far the highlight of the weekend. The best decision I made was to take him up on his kindness and go see Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks. Dennis, it was the only joy I had over the weekend. So I took my moment of glory in 2 concerts.
Well, hopefully they put together 2 great concerts. So how were they? Did they show up, Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks?
Let me tell you what. I wore my Fleetwood Mac belt buckle, and I have never seen Stevie Nicks do a whole set. I was at the Hall of Fame induction the night she got inducted, and she did 5 or 6. She did a lot more songs than anybody else did that night, and she gave a great, long-winded, sort of all over the place speech that was beautiful. I remember all that. And I love Stevie Nicks. I'm not anti Stevie Nicks in any way. I love Fleetwood Mac. I've only seen Fleetwood Mac once or twice back in the glory era at the Capitol Center. I love Christine McVie. Mick Fleetwood, I met him in the holding tank in Havana, Cuba in 1999 when I was down there singing with Andy Summers. So I love Fleetwood Mac and I love the song Sarah. It's my favorite She didn't play it. She was glorious, man. She was so good. And then Billy Joel, I'll just be honest with Billy Joel. I've seen Billy Joel 60, 70 times. I said that Leonard tried giving me the tickets at 9 a.m. and tried to get me to invite you and other people. And I said, I'm not going down there in the mess Saturday night. And it's going to be 52 degrees. I didn't want to be 52 degrees with Billy Joel, not even for free. Dennis, I was getting showered at 6:15 on Saturday night after the loss, this horrible rain delay loss, and I was going to drive to Philly to see John Mayer because I was convinced the Orioles were going to come back, win, and cost me John Mayer next Friday. He's playing here, and I wouldn't get to go because I'll be in Houston or Minnesota. And I was going to go see John Mayer. And finally, I asked Leonard, do you still have the tickets? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to drive. I parked at Mercy Hospital and walked 1.5 miles to the stadium because I just know downtown. It was awful. The traffic was unbelievable. But it was the best thing I did. It was therapeutic. Billy Joel, I take him for granted. And after losing Jimmy Buffett, after losing Tom Petty, after losing Glenn Fry, after losing David Bowie, after losing Prince, I shouldn't take Billy Joel for granted. He was so good that I should drag you and your loved ones to New York to see him next month.
You know, I should go because I just Googled their age. I had no idea how old they were, but Billy Joel's 74 years old. Stevie Nicks 75 years old, and it's reminiscent of us seeing the Eagles a couple of years ago. And it really, if people haven't seen these artists or they have seen them, it's worthwhile seeing them one more time before they pass away,
or stop doing this,
or stop doing it. Yeah, one or the other.
Well, any of them, and I'll tell you this, and Stevie Nicks said this at the end of the night. She gathered the whole band up. It made me cry. She said, "You keep me alive doing this."
That's awesome. How great is that?
She was great. And, I've seen great acts this year and I've seen good acts. John Mellencamp, fine. He was good, but not the best I've ever seen him. I've seen the Eagles twice this year. They're as good as they ever are. They're unbelievable. I've seen Pat Benatar. She was as good as she ever was. And I saw Guns N' Roses. They were horrible. I saw the Pretenders. They were unbelievably good.
Really?
Now they're going to open for Foo Fighters next year. So I've seen great. Styx is always great. Like REO Speedwagon, always great. They always bring it. They're in their 70s. It matters. They're warriors. I mean, they're warriors. Billy Joel plays twice a month, knows his limitations. He's playing in Tokyo in January. Like he still flies he played in London. He played Hyde Park July 4th weekend. You could have seen him and Springsteen the same weekend. So when Billy shows up, he was just great. He's great.
Good.
The band's
Piano
great.
Man.
Sounds great. The stadium's great. It was great. Everything about it was great. And then now we can talk football and baseball. All right, Dennis?
Well, see, we went to the MGM Grand Friday night and saw Mike Epps. Laughed real hard. He did a really good show. And then we have the Four Tops and the Temptations in December.
Can't get next to you.
Yeah, man.
Can't get next to you.
We got some stuff cooking, some stuff happening. But no, it's
I have sunshine on a cloudy day. You know what I mean? But
look, I caught many fish on a windy day. That's what I did Sunday. Tape both games, tape the Ravens and the Orioles.
Explain to me. The first thing I'd say is, how do you not find out the result, Dennis? What lengths do you go to avoid email, the television, the radio, running into somebody while you stop and get food at Rofo on the way home?
I don't stop on the way home. And I don't answer text messages. If the phone rings, I look to see who it is. And for instance, Sunday was Bruce Posner, and the first thing out of my mouth, Bruce, if this has to do with the Ravens game, Orioles, tell me nothing. And he said, okay. He said, sorry about the call. I said, you got it.
Well, at least he did that, because my mother used to do. So
yeah. Same thing as my mother does, which is why I don't take calls from my mother on Sundays.
This was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. My son, I would spend the night at my mother's house. I would take him to school in the morning. I'd show up. And sometimes I would say to her, hey, I taped the game last night, like literally on a videotape when I lived on Kane Street. And I'd say, don't tell me who won a game. The Orioles blew it last night. I'm like,
yep. No, I got the same thing with my mother. My mother did it to me 2 years ago. She called me and I said, don't tell me about the Ravens game. She says, well, they won. And I said, Ma, don't tell me. Oh, I thought you said tell me about the Ravens game.
They don't understand.
So from then on.
You know what? Will Smith, who was one of the biggest jerks ever to me when I interviewed him back in the day when he was the Fresh Prince, and he was like all that. Parents just don't understand. Parents
They don't. So I've learned. So I stay off the grid. And then I'm always surprised by the result.
You know how I know parents don't understand? Because I'm one of them myself.
You're one of them, right?
And my son tells me all the time. So, all right, we've had our joy. We've had our fun. I gave Leonard some love for literally, he dragged me to Billy Joel. It was the best thing I've done this. Well, no, John Mayer in New York was the best thing I did this month. But what do you want to talk about? Luke and I are flying to Texas to keep the season alive. I mean, this is as gloomy and awful, and it's a great day to not take phone calls and be in purple and orange therapy, because I'm in purple and orange therapy. I'm getting an airplane in a couple of hours from when we're talking. By the time people hear this, by Wednesday, the season could be over. Where are you? Let's start with baseball. You're less vested in baseball, I think, as a human. You're more invested in the football team, just from over the last, knowing you for 30 years.
Look, always have, always will. Went to 13 games this year, most games by far I've been to in decades. Really love the Orioles. Fell in love with the club, with the team. Feel bad for our fan base, but again, like you said, I'm a lot more vested in the Ravens and the National Football League. But with that said, not surprising that they're down 2-0 to the Texans. We knew about the Texans' offense coming into the game, and our pitching just held up, right? So they swept the Rays, and hopefully they won't sweep the Orioles. Hopefully, at least the O's can get one, right? The most important game was the next one, and hopefully our boys show up against the Rangers rather in Game 3.
I talked to Luke a little bit about this, and if I were inducing phone calls today, and I was looking for call me at 481-1570, which I only did for 24 years on days like today, I would be harping on the fact from the baseball team, this isn't about their talent. It's not about the depth of their pitching. It's not about how crappy their bullpen is. I don't think they've answered the call of the crowd and the noise and the moment.
Maybe.
And the moment isn't that it's a big game and it's October and it's do or die. The moment is when that moment comes, every fan that spends $200 in their life savings to get down there and sit in left field and bring orange pom poms, it's a different environment. And it's the game's managed differently, strategy, like all of that, what one run means, what that Henderson trying to steal second base and Hicks
Yeah.
missing the hit and run and the manager looking on from the dugout like John Harbaugh did all day when Linderbaum snapped the ball. Miscommunication. We'll get to football in a minute, but the baseball side of it for me, these kids have not played well, any of them, when it's been bobblehead night or giveaway night or Jim Palmer night or the Rays came in and the place gets full. And when there's that two strike noise energy, they haven't answered that bell. And I don't, that's not to say Rutschman can't or hasn't in the College World Series or that Gunnar Henderson won't round into that or that the next time Grayson Rodriguez takes the ball for a playoff game, he's going to have to earn that with 35 pitches next year unless they resuscitate the season here this week in Texas, that the next time around they'll be better. And
Hmm.
that would be for you the first time you ever sold a car and you screwed up a sale with a young lady or with somebody when you were young and you're like, should have handled that better, should have shown the
Yeah.
car differently, should have, man, the first time I tried to sell a $50,000 car, it was different than selling a $20,000 car. And speak to that as the elder statesman and the old man around here that runs things. And I mean, I don't kiss your butt much, but you're a leader of humans. I mean, you've led an organization for a long, long time. You have all the, sometimes you put the trophies up behind you, you have them up behind you right now. But there is something about being 55 and doing radio today that would have been different than me doing radio in 1996 or 97, just from frenetic energy
Yeah.
of I've been to 58 World Series games. I added this up. I know what that feels like. I've been to all these playoff games. I know what the hair on the back of my neck feels like as a fan, and every fan experienced it on Saturday, right? When literally every fan felt it. Gunnar Henderson has never felt it until he got up to had to hit the ball. And these pitchers coming into the game and have to throw strikes where the strike zone is what it is, and the
Sure.
noise and the environment, and the team didn't answer that bell over the weekend. And Texas is going to be a madhouse, and they're going to have to answer it or they're going to go home. Gunnar Henderson's going to have to come up and face a left-hander in the seventh or eighth inning on Tuesday night, and if he does it on Wednesday night, and hit a double or hit a home run when there's two strikes and the game's down and everybody's screaming at him, he's going to have to be Reggie Jackson. They're all going to have to be that at some point if they're going to win a World Series.
Well, there's nothing better in life and business than experience on fire, right? Experience on ice is dead, and we see that all the time. I'd rather have inexperience on fire than experience on ice. With that said, the Orioles, it's a big stage for a lot of these young men. A lot of them aren't even 25 years old yet, and the male brain doesn't fully understand consequence until it reaches 25 years of age or so. So they don't even understand how big the moment is. They don't understand. They've never been there. I think it will serve them well in the future, regardless of the outcome, and that's something they can build on as a young squad. But you made terrific points in terms of the crowd noise and how big these moments are. And these kids are getting up there. Maybe they're having the holy cow thoughts, right? Versus focusing on what? Just hitting a damn ball, making the next play, which is the most important thing. But there's no substitute for experience, Nestor. They just haven't lived long enough, uh, and now they're living. And these experiences, win, lose, or draw, will serve them well going forwards. That's my opinion.
Well, and I think for the fans, there's been an experience too, right? There's been
Sure.
this for you, this reawakening of where the ballpark is and where to park and how to get in and out and go down there and how to be a baseball fan and how to get on your feet with two strikes. And it's a little bit that our football crowd's lost with people like Chad Steele throwing me out. My wife and I were on our feet on third down, on first down in the first quarter, and created that environment that sustained, that began with the Ray Lewis dance, and oft times would last until 3:30 when we're kicking your ass by two touchdowns. And even then, your slappies are going to get in with 4 minutes left to go and try to run a 2-minute offense, and we're not going to let you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's always been the home field advantage here. And it didn't feel like an advantage to our players over the weekend. It didn't feel like they answered the noise in the way that if we were to make noise and have Lamar work at home, it's different for
Right.
Lamar to have to win with 68,000 people in a nasty place on the road that's full and loud. Kansas City in January, Buffalo and like that's a different thing than winning in Miami in October. It is. I've been in all these. It's all I've done until they threw me out. And by the way, I'll be in Arlington. I'll be in the ballpark Tuesday night making noise for the Orange team. But Reggie Jackson answered that bell, despite me not liking him, right? Tom Brady answers that bell. Like that bell gets answered. Joe Flacco answered that bell better than anybody's ever going to give him credit.
But it's just not individuals though. That's why baseball, football, these are great team sports. Whether it's the front office, ownership, the manager, the coach, the players. It doesn't come down to one play. It doesn't come down to one thing. It's a multitude of things that end in the result and in the outcome. And we saw that with the Ravens against the Steelers. It wasn't the missed field goal call. It wasn't the 6 or 7 drop passes. It wasn't the Jackson pick in the end zone. It wasn't the block punt. It was all of it. It wasn't the clock management, just like the loss to the Colts, right? I mean, so I think in the case of the Ravens, they're a good team. They're not a great team. They're a flawed team. And if you don't bring your A game, whether you're the Orioles or the Ravens, Nestor, you're going to lose.
Well, let's get to the Ravens. You say flawed team. I mean, they're a flawed team that could just and we can say this in a lot of years. They easily could be 5-0, but I mean, they've won 5. They've been the better team on the field all 5 games, right? I mean,
well, Nestor, they played a rookie quarterback in the opener. They played a banged up Joe Burrows. They played the Browns without their starting quarterback. Right now they played the Colts with the backup quarterback, and they played the Steelers. The quarterback had a bum knee, and so to me, it's not like they're crushing great teams. Watch a bit of the Niners versus the Cowboys Sunday night, and I'm telling you, the Niners are a good team.
Really good team.
I mean, you talk about offense, their skilled players, their offensive line, defensive lines, and the Cowboys are a good team. But the Niners just came out and just handled their business in a manner that you just don't see the Ravens. I mean, just even their 2 middle linebackers, they were better at that game than Roquan and Queen have been, and that's saying a lot.
Well, Dennis Koulatos is here. He'll be back on Thursday from 3 until 5. He'll also sell you a car over Coons Baltimore Ford Security Boulevard. Luke will have all sorts of reports, probably who our Game 3 starter is going to be, all out on the WNST Tech Service, brought to you by Coons Baltimore Ford. Of course, Dennis will be here 3 to 5 on Thursday, back again on Sunday morning, literally during the game. He airs from 8 until noon. That used to be safe. They used to not play football at 9 o'clock in the morning, Dennis. Once every 6 years or so, we go over to London. Soup to nuts on the Ravens. Let's go. I mean, we did some baseball. Football is your true love and passion. And I would just say this about the Pittsburgh game and playing up there, and that's not a very good football team. We're going to question the coach this week a little bit, right? We're going to question decision making, and we're going to talk about the wide receivers dropping the ball and getting all these players back, and whether some of these guys, Batemans of the world, are ever going to step up. That's a hideous loss to the Steelers, and the Ravens are going to be able to hide behind the Orioles. If the Orioles win Tuesday, they get to hide another day. If the Orioles come back and play on Friday here, it'll be a skate for the Ravens this week in London. A nice little escape for them, breaking their passports out this week, right?
Well, it may be potentially, but like you said, plenty of blame to go around. Not taking points where you should have in a very tight game. Interception, and again the receivers. Man, I tell you what, I know they're on a plane probably today, going over across the pond. But those jug machines, they need to use those, and they need to work with their pass catching skills. I mean, some of those drops, Nestor, they were just inexcusable, horrible, absolutely horrible.
Well, and it's like Harbaugh says that we make those plays, and they do. And I don't know that that's not coaching, but sending the team out there where the center snaps the ball and it costs you points. The center doesn't know like what the consequences would be. Yeah. It's one thing if the defensive tackle jumps over and, beats your guard in the face and the referee's going to whistle it anyway. But even then, you still, given the time and where they were going to have to kick a field goal.
Remember when the special teams of the Ravens are very good? It seemed like they've lost some since Jerry Rosburg retired. They just don't seem to be as stout, no pun intended, as they used to be, right? When's the last time the Ravens had a block punt? So it's one play here, one play there, but when you're playing a team that needs the victory more than you do in front of their home fans, Steelers showed up. They were the better team that day. Credit to Mike Tomlin for having his guys ready to play.
Well, and I'll hear that all day, but I saw Kenny Pickett and I said, what makes anybody think that this kid's going to win playoff games? Like
He's
I
not.
or that they're right. Like they don't have the right horses for the course. You had them beaten dead to rights, and enough so that the Laundry and the TJ Watts of the world, right, give them a chance. Get
Yeah.
Pickens because they have some
Pick
special players.
Pickens is a dude, right? Give me a player that's a dude on the Ravens. And I don't want to hear about Mark Andrews. Give me the wide receiver that you throw up a 50-50 ball. And for Pickens, it's an 80-20 ball. It's not even a 50-50. He burned your best cornerback on the team easily. The guy was almost uncoverable in their victory against the Ravens. We
Well,
don't have that guy.
and Bateman was supposed to be that guy, and Flowers is never going to be that guy, and Beckham is being sort of paid to be that guy, right?
Well, that's why I think Lamar forced that ball to him, right? Whether it was supposed to be a back shoulder throw or he didn't throw the fade high enough. I mean, he threw it right to Joey Porter Jr. of all people, right? To bring back bad memories for Ravens fans, right? But you can't force the ball to guys. If it's not there, it's not there. You got to throw it away or put it in a place where if your guy doesn't get it, the other guy doesn't. So poor decision making, poor execution. I didn't like the rhetoric too in the post game pressers from the guys. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of ifs and buts,
Candies
candy
and
and
nuts.
nuts, candies and nuts. Right? It all adds up to a loss. I like how they all beat their chest when they win, and now that they've had a couple of losses, they start blaming things. Put it to you that way.
Dennis, if Chad Steele hadn't thrown me out, I would have been in the car for 5 hours, probably Sunday morning. I'm trying to think of how I would have even have done this, right? I wouldn't have seen Billy Joel. I wouldn't have had a good time running into friends and enjoying myself. I would have been 5 hours driving back on Sunday night up in Pittsburgh. But there's a point for me in all these years of doing this, and I speak from the heart when I say this, 39 years of being in locker rooms. It's when I learn the most. I learn the most when I go in there, and I've been in that locker room. The last time I had a press pass, probably the last time I will ever have had a press pass after all these years, thousands of press passes, literally. The last one I'll ever have in the NFL was in that locker room last year, and they won. And I walked around, I met Calais Campbell that day. I walked around, they were playing Latin music and dancing. And you learn when you win, but you learn a lot more when you lose. When
Yes, you do.
who's hiding, who's accountable, who's doing the scarecrow thing from the Wizard of Oz. What's the coach saying? What are the coaches saying? What's Linderbaum look like? Show me the whites of his eyes at the locker when he shows accountability. Like, I snapped the ball, it was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Or when Zay Flowers says I dropped the ball, it's on me. Or when Odell Beckham, who's making $1 million a week,
Yeah.
like literally making $1 million a week to show up and to see the accountability of these guys. This is what the fans, it's why you sponsor me. It's like, what do we know that, well, they only let a handful of people in there. And if it's all their back scratchers and their employees and the team website people, I mean, you're lucky you get the Linderbaum news out of it, right? I
Right.
mean, like, because that
Well,
that takes journalists to do that, and not Jamison Hensley getting a text from Rashad Bateman an hour later. Dude, show up, stand in front of your locker, be a pro. If I got to get in my car and drive up
look,
there, take 10 hours of my day, and they won't even let me do my job, do
he
your job. Show some accountability. And that goes to Harbaugh, whose ass should be in a sling here a little bit on the coaching side for all of this. Because at some point, whether I liked him or didn't like him, whether he's at my wife's bedside or throwing me out and lying about it, whatever it is, and this is a week to get after the coach when they're leaving 3 points up and when they're making judgments, decisions, not dropping the ball in the middle. You say Jugs machine, and to me, that's Lombardi talk, and these guys are all capable of making that play. I mean, and they'll make it again. And for John to say that, I respect that. That is I don't need them running extra sprints because he dropped the ball. I'm not
no,
that
but
ball coach. But
it's
with
just
decisions and putting players in a position to snap the ball and screw things up. There's 11 guys out there. One guy jumps. I mean, there's just so many things. Hey, Tomlin gave him 40 seconds at the end of the game. Tomlin screwed up
he
too.
he did. He really did. And then Justice Hill, you get a hustle play by one of the defensive linemen, punches the ball out, fumble. Um, and then, of course, Lamar Jackson getting hit from behind, dropping the ball. I mean, Ronnie Stanley didn't look good. The offensive line didn't look good.
But why are they
Jackson didn't.
throwing the ball at the goal line? And why are they
I
putting
don't know.
themselves in a chance to have an interception when a field goal would have
Yeah,
been as good as a walk there?
they didn't run the ball enough. I mean, they didn't. They just didn't. They didn't execute. But just like the Colts game, had a chance to get up on top of them early and squash them and keep them down. They didn't do it.
He is Dennis Koulatos. He will be here and there at Coons Baltimore Ford, here at WNST and AM 1570 on Thursday from 3 until 5. Back again on Sunday morning. I will be at Hollywood Casino on Sunday morning. I'm going to be at Drug City on Friday doing the Crab Cake Tour. Hopefully still playing baseball on Friday night. To round this thing, where I guess, where do we go from here? You think the Orioles can get back home? Do you think they can win a game? I mean, first things first, win a game. Gibson, Kramer, whatever it is, hitting the ball, hitting off a right-hander. I mean, all that's going on in Texas.
Well, I'm stating the obvious here, but they've got to win the next game. And I think no different than the Ravens. The Ravens, of course, in a different scenario. They have plenty of season left. For the Orioles, not so much. They've got to win the next game. You win the next game, and who knows what can happen. But you lose, you're done. Your season's done. You've been swept. They've been a very good road team for the year. Maybe perhaps the best road team in the majors. They've been there before, and maybe they'll have less pressure going up against the Rangers.
They've played well on the road. I mean, they've been a good road team.
So we're gonna have some hope. They're a gritty team. We're not done yet, so let's see what happens.
This might be the way they do things. Back to the wall.
Look, how great would that be? If they can win 2 straight, bring it back to Baltimore. That'd be wonderful. I might have to come to that game. I might have to go to that one.
Game 5 you go to. Of course you would. Right?
Absolutely would. Absolutely. I'd be there for sure.
Any flashbacks on London this week here for the Ravens?
Oh, my gosh. No. We don't want to talk about the flashbacks in London.
The Titans defensively played really well. And to your point, you make the Justice Hill point and the fumbles and the drops and all that. Yep. There's a point this week where Mike Vrabel's like, hit the ball. Lamar's going to get sloppy. Lamar's going to try to do too much. Lamar's going to run out of the pocket. Lamar's not paying attention. Slap the ball. Forget him. Forget tackling him. Forget hurting him. Forget his ankles. Forget chasing him down. When you get near him, go for the ball. And that's very, very that's going to be the new frontier for Lamar Jackson. Slap the ball.
They have Jeffrey Simmons. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They got Derrick Henry. They've got players. It's an NFL team. And Ravens, again, they got to figure it out. And I don't want to hear about them beating themselves. You got to give the other team some credit, too.
All right. Well, they need to pick the pieces up. Obviously, the Orioles won't have any pieces if they're not around on Sunday by the time we hear the Sunday sports voice around here. Tell me something about cars that I don't know, that I need to know at this point. I've asked you silly questions about electric cars and plug-in cars and all that stuff.
Never a silly question. No, we have close to 300 brand new vehicles in stock now. They're coming in very fast from Detroit. We have great deals, some 0%, some 1.9% out there. It really is a great time to buy. We have a lot of pre-loved vehicles. The UAW strike has had zero negative adverse effect on us. And we're just rolling, man. We had a great weekend and great Columbus Day weekend. And we're extending that throughout the rest of the month, all the savings.
Yeah, all the money you'll save from not having to buy the rest of these playoff tickets, you can spend on a new car, right?
Yes, you can do both. In Baltimore, you can do both.
Well, I'm thinking about all these people into all this money for the ALCS and the World Series. Like if they lose in Texas, save all the dough. Hey, I'm thinking if you're not going to win, I got flights to Houston and Minnesota held next week. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to get to LA and Atlanta, and they're trying to wet the bed. I mean, you might be up in Philadelphia before it's all over, and that would have made it easy for all of us. Dennis is here. You can find him at D Koulatos Show, as well as Dennis Koulatos out on the Twitter thing, the X, as we would say. Hopefully, you and I are explaining on Thursday how we're going to beat each other to all these tickets and spend a whole bunch of money on Game 5 and go down there and be crazy and light the place up on Friday night. Hopefully my unlucky orange Aparicio 11 jersey will become a lucky jersey once it is blessed properly in the great state of Texas. I'm taking my ZZ Top belt buckle, my Texas belt buckle.
Okay. Do your
That's
thing,
what I'm going to do. See if I can put the whammy on them down there.
Just win, baby. Just win.
It's bad enough I got to go to Dallas. They better not lose. He is Dennis. We'll be around all week. Luke Jones is around as well. We will be at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. My dude, Brian Rousum, is going to be joining us down there for some barbecue. So I'm really looking forward to that. One of my favorite people, longtime guest and friend that we've had around here, has traveled the whole world and has decided to live in all places in the metroplex of Fort Worth and Dallas and Arlington. So we'll be down in Texas and eat some good barbecue. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore. If I used to take phone calls, we'd be saying the sky is not falling. There'll be another day. There'll be another at bat. There'll be another game in London. Go get them this week. We're WNST. Stay with us. All is well.